Hello and welcome back to The Casual Painter. Today we are painting up the Abhorrant Archregent from the old Spearhead set. As you can see, I've kind of gone to town a bit with his base. Got lots of resin pieces on there, a couple of plastic pieces from the bits box with skulls and whatnot. The base is built up with milliput and then texture paint over the top. He's not attached to the base currently. He will quite easily pop off like that. So we'll be painting them separate. So we'll have the Abhorrant separately and the base as well. So that you can see there is a finger and a couple of toes as well on the base. So we've painted them in, what colour is that? That is Mecha Standard Grey. This is Standard Grey from Coloured Forge, and this is Ghoul Grey from Colour Forge from the Rattle Cans. Which this is the equivalent to Mecha Standard Grey, and this is equivalent to Grey Seer. So if you don't have them, you can use whichever one you have. But we're going to start with the Abhorrant. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take some Celestial Grey, and we're going to do a heavy dry brush, overbrush with that. So we're going to take a nice soft makeup brush. It's an old makeup brush that I've been using for painting. Yeah, it's super hot glued on as well. So yeah, there's that. But we're going to load up our brush with our paint, get a fair amount on it, and then use our tissue to work it into the bristles and wipe off the majority of the paint. And we can build this up in layers, so it's not a problem. And we're literally going all over. That's the sort of coverage we're looking for. So we're just leaving the Mecha Standard Grey in the deepest recesses. Now, without washing your brush, and once you've got to where you want, and like I said, you've got a pretty good coverage of everywhere, apart from the back of his thigh there. Yeah, once you've got a good coverage of the model, don't forget the toes and the finger. We're going to take some Warhammer Grey without washing your brush. I'm going to do the same again, but a lot lighter this time. Load it with brush, take away the excess. So once you have your what was that, the Orphan Grey layer done, should look something like this. Yeah, and then what we're going to do from here, we're going to take some Contrast Medium and some Grift Charger Grey. We do 50-50 of this, and we're going to apply it over the whole model. Put these on your palette. Don't mix them in the pots. So now that that layer is dry, we should have something that looks like this. So what we're going to do with the skin now is we're going to take some Orphan Grey and we're just going to highlight the skin. We're going to focus mainly on the sharp edges, the musculature, the bits and pieces like that that stand out and are going to be prominent. Not everything, we're not doing all the flat surfaces and whatnot. I'm just going to go around his face, around his eyes, build up bits and pieces where it needs building up. So now that we have gone over with our Orphan Grey, we're going to take some dark oak flesh and we are going to get the wing membranes and any fleshy parts like that that are associated with the wing flaps. Whilst we've got the dark oak flesh out, we're also going to use it on his loincloth, his robes. If you make a mistake at this point, getting it onto the parts that you've already painted, then just touch it back up with the Hawthorn Grey. Whilst that is drying, we're going to take some Volupus Pink. What we're going to do with this is thin it down a little, probably 1:1. And I'm going to take a little bit of this and we're going to go around any wounds, any parts where bone or anything is piercing the skin, anything like that. So he's got a bit of a wound here. And get the wound itself and the area around the wound. Now, I don't want it too much, so you've got a tide mark. And you can always tidy this up afterwards with Hawthorn Grey if you need to. He's got something piercing his skin there. and on the front. Otherwise, we've also got the volupus pink. We are going to get the inside of his ears, like this, and the inside of his mouth, making sure to cover his tongue. Take time, go over the model, make sure you've got all the bits that are piercing his skin. You could even, where bones are coming through like this, you could glaze in there. Give that sore appearance. Don't forget his other ear as well. So we're going to take some Morghast bone and we're going to go over all the bone parts and the teeth. So I've got a couple of skulls here. Once you have done that, we're going to take some iron warriors and we're going to paint all the metallic parts. So start off with his shoulder pad. whilst I've also got the Iron Warriors out, I'm going to take my base and paint any metallic features on here. So I've got these 2 spears. I'm going to paint these because this is going to be painted in the same way. I'm not going to paint the shield down at the bottom here. I'll wait until I've done the ground for that bit, because the dry brushing of the ground will just cover up anything I do. Next we're going to take some Black Templar and we're going to go over all the claws. That's going to be on hands and feet. Start with the base. So we've got the toes and the finger on here. Now we're going to take some Agros Dunes and we're going to go over all the leather, the straps, the strings, all the bits like that. Not many on here, but there are some. There's a little one here. Got a bit of a belt going on. Rope around his neck. I'm not going to go this way at the minute, just going to worry about this bit. Now we're going to take some Skeleton Horde and we're going to go over all the bone areas that we've already done. Next, we're going to take some snakebite leather and we're going to go over any wooden parts that we have. Now, at the moment, all I can see is this part in here. It's like a stake of some description has been driven into him. Maybe just to hold the armor on, maybe to try and kill him. Next, we are going to take some Agrax Earthshade and we're going to wash over all them metallics that we've done. Next, we're going to take some Cadian Flesh Tone or Basic Skin Tone. If you haven't got this, then use this. This has run out and I don't use it anymore because I use Basic Skin Tone. It's basically the same colour. They look similar like this, but once you get them on the model, they are the same. So we're going to use some of that. This is going to be for the loincloth and the robes as such. And we're just going to highlight all our skin bits. Next, we're going to take some luminous flesh. Again, if you don't have this, use Kislev flesh. It's similar sort of tone, and it will give you a similar sort of effect. And we're going to highlight the same cloth that we've just done. Start the back again. We're just picking out the sharpest edges with this. Right, next we are going to take some Rakar flesh and we are going to highlight the membranes on his wings. So, similar to what we've just done. Once you are happy with how that is looking, take some Carabao Crimson, thin it down about 50-50 on your palette, and then what we're going to do is we're going to work it into the recesses. So once you are happy with the build-up of that, what you can do is take that same mix and you can add some texture by just dotting. So whilst we're letting that Carabao Crimson dry, we're going to take some Magos Purple and we're going to go over pretty much everything on the base. We're going to leave the trees, the plants, the skulls, but we're going to get all the rock work, all the groundwork. Anything that gets in the way is not a problem. Obviously, taking care around the areas that we've already painted, so like the claws, we don't want to get them. I'm going to get a painting handle for this, just to make it a little bit easier. That one. This one? No, it's too big. It's going to have to be this one. So we want 2 coats of Magos Purple. We want to work it in all the recesses, all the areas of the base. Now that our Carabag Crimson has dried, we're going to take some Pallid Witch Flesh and we're going to highlight our membranes. So we just want the very sharpest edges, so any creases like this. Bits like that. Once you're done, it should look something like this. Next, we're going to take some Morghast bone and we're going to highlight them bone areas. So now that we've done the Morghast Bone highlight, we're going to take Screaming Skull and do a sharper highlight. Let's pop down. Once you've done 2 layers of the Magos purple, it should look something like this. Give it plenty of time to dry and it should be about ready. So next thing we're going to do is take some, what's it called? Basilicanum Grey. There we go, Basilicanum Grey. And we're going to go over everything like we've just done with the Magos purple. Being careful around the claws where you've painted. Whilst we are waiting for the base to dry, we're going to take some Garragax Sewer and we are going to paint all the hair. There's not a lot of hair on his head, in fact there's no hair on his head, but there is hair around his body. So like his arm here. Being very careful with this not to get it on to the flesh that you've already painted. So where we need to touch up, like here, it's not quite the right colour for the Garragax Sewer. So we're going to go back to the Ulthuan Grey, take a little bit of that, and we're just going to paint over where I've gone a bit zealous with the flesh colours. Let that dry and then we can come back over with the Garragax Sewer. So we're going to highlight up our metal areas using that lead belcher. So we're going to start with the shoulder pad. whilst you've got the lead belcher out, don't forget to highlight the metal on your base. Next, for the base, we are going to take some graphite. This is the same as Codex Grey or Dawnstone, so use that if you've got it. If not, use graphite. And what we're going to do with this is dry brush all across. Dry brush across everything that we've already done, apart from the skin. So I've got some on my palette. And have a brush up. Out washing your brush, we're going to take some Administratum Grey and we're going to do a lighter dry brush over that Codex Grey dry brush that we've just done. So once we have it looking something like this, what we're going to do is take some Drakenhof Nightshade, and what we're going to do with this is roughly paint it into the recesses. So load up your brush, and anywhere where there's a bit of a crevice, anywhere you want shadow, paint this. Whilst that Drakenhof Nightshade is still wet, we're going to take some Carabed Crimson and we're going to paint this on the high areas where we want there to be light. So, like here. If this mixes with the Drakenhof Nightshade, even better. If you feel like it's a bit too strong, dampen your brush and spread it out. Wick it away. Now I'm going to take some Seraphim Sepia, and for the ornate parts on the pillar here, I'm just going to wash over the top of that, including that shield. mixing into that Caribou Crimson and the Drakenhof Nightshade. Don't really want it on them edges, so we'll clean that up with a damp brush. Let that dry. Once your washes have dried on your base, it should look something like this. So the next thing we're going to do is take some Creed Camo, and this is going to go on the broadleaf plants, like that one there. Next, for the reed type plants, we're going to take some Militarum green, and for the bottoms we're going to do Achillean green. So I'll show you how that works. Take the Militarum green first, and we're going to paint the top 3/4. Once you've done that, take your Achillean green and paint in that last quarter, mixing in with the Militarum green that's already there. Should look something like that when you're done. I missed a bit of the Militarum green there on the top. There you go. For the wood and all the trees and bits, I'm going to take some snakebite leather. Metal elements on your base that you haven't already painted, we're going to do the same again. We're going to go Iron Warriors. Keep calling it Iron Hands. So that for me it is going to be a shield down here. The skulls on the base, we're going to paint the same as the skulls on the character with Morghast Bone and what is that one? Skeleton Horde. Highlight again with Morghast Bone and then highlight with Screaming Skull. So for the cloth on the spears, I'm going to take some Magos Purple. I'm just going to give this once over. Tidied it up beforehand with a bit of Ulthuan Grey, just to get that overspill. Once your commando Carrick Stone, is dry on the broadleaf plants, we're going to take some Creed Camo again. And we're just going to go over the top of them, just to dull them up. Personal choice at this point. If you like the way it looks like that, you don't have to do this step. If you want the leaves a little bit darker, do this step. So we're going to go back to our Carrick Stone and we're going to dry brush this time. We're going to dry brush the trees and the wood. So load your brush up, wipe it away. And then you can dry brush your trees. Happy with how your trees are looking? Take some Agrax Earthshade and wash over the top of them. It's going to knock the dustiness off them and just make them look a bit more tree-like, in my opinion. Back to the metalwork. This is going to go for the base and for the character. What we're going to do now is rust it up. First, we're going to take some Mournfang Brown and we're going to dilute this quite a lot. We want it to glaze, basically. Maybe a bit heavier than a glaze. So just thinning it down on my palette. Once you get it on your palette and it starts to separate, that's about where you want it. So load your brush up and work it into the recesses. For this has been on the ground, so everywhere is practically a recess. For our shoulder pad, I'm going to be a bit more selective, so I still want it into recesses. Let's crease along here. Flat panels like this, you can just dab it on and leave it to dry like that. Back to our cloth. Now that the Magos Purple has dried, we're going to take some Ultramarines Blue and we're going to go over the top of that Magos Purple. Now that our Mournfang Brown has dried on our rust, we're going to take some Scrag Brown and we're going to thin it the same as we did with the Mournfang Brown. So about until it starts to separate on your palette. And with this is going to go in the deepest recesses. This is where you want the corrosion of the rust to be the strongest. So you could do this around rivets, you could do this around stud work, you could do this in bits like that where it's moulded, where water is going to collect. For our Abhorrant, same again, we're going to do it in the deepest recesses. You could be a bit more sparing with this. Anywhere where you put the Mournfang really is kind of where you want to go. For our cloth on the spears here, we're going to take some Calgar blue and we're just going to carefully highlight this. Now, we're going to do a glow effect around the skulls on the base. So to start with, we're going to use some Liquitex, what is called titanium white ink. Yeah, this is going to go around the skulls. You can put it in the eye sockets as well if you wish, but I've not done on this, so I'm not going to on the rest of it. And I'm just going to carefully go around all the skulls, trying not to get it on the skulls themselves. It's not the end of the world if you do, because you can just touch them off afterwards. This might take a few layers because it's an ink, it's quite thin, but also what you want is you want to start off with a ring like that and then feather it out. So it might pay to do a bigger ring first, let that dry, and then get closer to the skulls. Whilst we're waiting for that Liquitex ink to dry, we're going to take some Aggrant Surfshade and we're going to dirty up these this cloth. Looks far too clean and precise at the minute. So I'm just going to give it a wash over the whole flag. Once your white ink has dried, we're going to take some turquoise inks from Liquitex again. Same as before, really. Once you've done that, it's kind of the cleanup time. So this is the point where I'm going to go around. I'm going to go around with Ultron Grey and tidy up any bits that I need to. So for example, if I got any of the dry brushing on any of the claws or fingers here. Just going to go around, tidy that up a little bit. On the Abhorrant itself, we're just going to tidy up his face a little bit. Got a bit overzealous with the old Carabao Crimson. Also going to take some Black Templar and we're going to tidy up the claws as well. So I'm going to clean up the fixing points. So I'm going to scrape a little bit of paint away from this bit. And I'm going to scrape some paint away from this foot here where that stud is. Scraping the paint away will allow the glue to actually react with the plastic rather than the paint. Gluing paint to paint, it won't stick with plastic glue. So hopefully gluing paint to plastic will help it hold a little bit better. So I'm not going to be able to clean up all the fixing points, but hopefully I can get enough of a grip on this. Also, while we have Black Templar out, we're going to paint the rim of our base. So here we have the Abhorrant Archregent, all painted up, all ready to go to battle. He's got a lovely spearhead to lead. You'll see that up next. But yeah, this is how I painted these. The whole army was painted in the same style to match one another. Bases, the skin, the flesh, everything you see here was done on the rest of the Flesh Eater courts. So yeah, really hope you enjoyed this one, and hope to see you in the next one.